Vamos a dar inicio al Tribunal Internacional contra el Bloqueo de Estados Unidos a Cuba. En la ciudad de Bruselas, siendo el día 16 de noviembre de 2023, se constituye el Tribunal por integrantes de múltiples organizaciones de solidaridad con Cuba y de juristas de reconocido prestigio de numerosos países.
Honorable judges, we, the prosecutors of this tribunal, come before you today, respectfully requesting that you find the United States responsible for multiple violations of human rights and international law in the origination and perpetuation of its vindictive blockade against Cuba.
As we unite here together with the goal of bringing it down once and for all. And of course it is an outrage that this is now more urgent and necessary, given the intensification of what was already a murderous policy by the Trump administration in 2019. The blockade on Cuba is, of course, one of the longest-standing examples of the so-called rules-based international order.
He estado a Cuba hace 2 semanas para la invitación de la Asamblea y he podido ver la situación de Cuba. La muy difícil situación económica por la falta de alimentos, por la falta de medicinas, de energía, no hay gasolina. Todo esto es para el bloqueo.
The devastating effects of the United States embargo over Cuba on European economic interests and on European Union citizens and businesses' economic and commercial relations with Cuba due to their extraterritorial application in violation of commonly accepted rules of international trade. That is the point of view of the European Union as it was communicated to the Special Rapporteur. So it's not only about the rights, of course, mainly about the rights of the Cuban people, but it's also about the rights of the European people and the people all over the world who wish to trade, who wish to develop relations, economic relations, political relations, cultural relations, academic relations with Cuba, and who are not allowed to do so because of the blockade.
It is for us impossible to use Zoom or Teams for online conference meetings. Cuban researchers and students can often not access up-to-date information and databases because some academic websites are not accessible from Cuba.
Cubans with disabilities, due to the blockade, we saw some of the films, are deprived from accessing Apple equipment and software, which are very efficient in enabling social inclusion and personal autonomy, as well as improve their quality of life and health.
We have a systemic example. Also during the video, it was alluded to a drug, actinomycin D, which is a very important drug in the treatment of children with cancer. This drug was produced till 2009 by a company in Mexico. Then an American, US company bought this company, and this US company was from then on the only company producing that drug, and so Cuban couldn't get the drug anymore.
En enero del año pasado, un partidario de Alemania quería pagar su contribución a una ONG belga, una ONG de solidaridad con Cuba, desde su banco en Alemania. Pero el banco en Bélgica, ING, bloqueó el pago y solicitó la información al banco alemán, preguntando si este pago tiene un vínculo directo o indirecto con Cuba.
Junto al bloqueo, con la ley Helms-Burton como epicentro, hay otra decisión política unilateral de Estados Unidos que obstaculiza hasta hacer casi imposibles las relaciones económicas y comerciales con Cuba. La inclusión de Cuba en la espuria lista de países que Estados Unidos unilateralmente califica como patrocinadores del terrorismo.
Y Cuba en la lista de países terroristas. ¿Por qué? Pues claro, porque es un ejemplo para el mundo, Cuba, de democracia y de participación.
Senhor Presidente, senhores juízes, basta, 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 Cuba vencerá.
The International Tribunal on the US sanctions against the Republic of Cuba pronounces the following judgment. The extensive political and economic sanctions imposed on the Republic of Cuba since 1960 up to date violate international law. The blockade, even they call it an embargo or sanctions, undermines people's lives, freedom, rights and dignity, and is a crime against humanity. Blockades are one of the most treacherous, illegal and illegitimate forms of warfare, even if they invoke international treaties and law to camouflage their action. The US is determined to maintain measures that are calculated to bring about in the long term the physical destruction, at least in part, of the Cuban people. Such an attitude could amount to a crime of genocide.